So you've been working at a 9 to 5, and your back hurts and your hips hurt, and you're tired of feeling this way. Congratulations, you're exactly where you need to be. I'm Carlo Alande, and I'll be your guide. Today, what we're going over is a nice little routine that you can do to mobilize after a long day's work, especially if we're feeling tension in our upper back as well as our hips. So before we get started, one thing that I want you to keep in mind is that word of power as well. Keep this in the back of your mind while you're doing this mobility routine. I embrace a positive and balanced lifestyle. So again, keep that in your mind as we're doing these movements. But one of the first movements that we're going to cover today is actually to help mobilize and loosen up the hamstrings. And it's actually called the ever so fun inchworm. So what you're going to need is either a bench or a chair, something that you can walk your hands along. So essentially what we're doing is we're essentially going into a little bit of a hinge where we're pushing the hips back just slightly, keeping the legs as straight as possible. As we're doing that, we're going to go ahead and we're going to sink down into the bench. Notice that as I'm doing this, I'm keeping my back as flat as I can, as well as I'm not bending a whole heck of a lot. I'm not bending my knees like this, right? So what we want is we want to make sure, again, we're getting into that little bit of a hinge. Then we're going to slowly walk up the bench, nice and controlled. Remember, when we're doing mobilization as well as stretching, we want to make sure that we're only feeling slight discomfort and no pain. So don't force anything, right? So we don't need to walk all the way up the bench or up the chair, just until we can feel a really good stretch. So again, boom, we're starting at the hamstrings first. We're going to start doing the inchworms, and we're actually just going to do 8 of these. So all in all, just keep walking up. So that's 2 right there. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, awesome. And then we're gonna do 3 right here. Again, notice that the hamstrings are getting a really good stretch as we're doing this movement and as we start to walk up. You should start to feel them start to loosen up as you're doing this. There you go, that's 3. And then boom, boom, boom. And then that's 4. Holy Toledo. Feels like these hamstrings are loosening up a whole heck of a lot, and I embrace a positive and balanced lifestyle. My goodness. Golly gee gumdrops, gee willikers, things are feeling pretty darn good right now. Okay, there you go. We're gonna keep moving, we're gonna keep moving, we're gonna keep moving. Okay. And then walking up, nice good stretch in those hamstrings. And then one more. Boom, boom, boom. Nice. Awesome. So congratulations, you've done the first exercise and the first movement, just loosening up those hamstrings. Next thing we're going to do is we're actually going to go ahead and go into our 90-90s. So I'm just going to go ahead and move this bench. Notice that as I'm moving the bench, I went into a hinge because that's a proper way to pick things up, right? So boom, boom, boom. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into our 90-90. We're going to sit on the floor with the bum on the floor. We're actually going to position our legs so that they're at 90 degrees. So we got 90 degrees here, 90 degrees for the back leg. Now from this position, what we're going to do is you can use your hands, but I want you to do your best. Try not to use your hands. Keep the heels on the ground, and we're going to shimmy over to the other side, which means we're going to lift this knee up, boom, 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 and we're going to be on the other side there. And then from here, so that's 2 right there. We're going to do a total of 8 of these, okay? It's 3. Should be feeling some good movement through those hips. That's 4. It's 5. That's 6. That's 7. And then that's 8. Awesome. So getting into the 90-90 and help mobilizing the hips going back and forth. Next, we're going to go ahead and we're going to stretch out the piriformis. This is just a muscle that's just right through here, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to put an ankle on top of our knee while we're laying on our back. And then from here, we're actually going to stretch it dynamically. So this is something that you can do as well. If you're about to work out, you can add this into a little bit of your warm-up, say if it was a bit of a mobility routine before you get started cranking out some weights. So what we're going to do from here is we're actually going to go ahead. We're going to lift up this heel. Boom. Good stretch through our piriformis right here. Piriformis, fun fact, this is the muscle responsible for us doing this type of movement, right? And the name piriformis actually means pear-shaped in Latin, because that's the way that the muscle is actually shaped. So fun fact, hey? And then we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna do a total of 8 of these. So we've got 4 of these lifts in right now. So we got 5 right here. My goodness, I embrace a positive and balanced lifestyle. That's 6. And then that's 7. And that's 8. Awesome. So let's go ahead and let's switch over to the other leg here. Boom, boom, boom. Let's cross it over, ankle on top of the knee. And then from here, we're just gonna go ahead and we're gonna lift this leg now. And then boom, you feel a really good stretch through piriformis on this side. So that's 1. I'm just gonna go ahead and lift. And again, as we're doing this movement, like I was saying earlier, when we're doing our stretching or mobility, we wanna make sure that we only feel slight discomfort and no pain. So we're not forcing anything, okay? So we're just making sure that we're getting some good movement in, some good mobility and stretches in, so that we can start feeling right as rain, especially after a long day's work. So, what do you guys do for a living? Are you guys 9 to 5 all the time? I remember I used to work accounts receivable for quite a bit actually before I became a personal trainer. I was actually in accounts receivable for about seven-ish years before I transitioned into being a bartender and then a personal trainer for the last over 10 years now. So, but all in all, I'm looking forward to hearing what you guys are all about if you want to write down in the comments. But now we've stretched out piriformis, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to stretch out our T-spine. So spine through here, our thoracic spine. So what we want to do is we want to take that chair that we were using earlier or a bench. We're going to place our hands down like this. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to shift our bum back just slightly. And then from here, what we want to do is we want to keep our arms as straight as possible, but we want to think bringing our chest or our sternum to the ground. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to go ahead and do repetitions. So we're going to push, bringing our sternum to the ground as much as we can. And then that is 1. Should be feeling some good extension through T-spine. We're actually going to go ahead and we're going to do 8 of these. So that's 2. My goodness, this should be feeling pretty darn good. Getting everything all loosened up, especially from being in flexion all day when we're sitting at a desk. So this will be really good to help enforce good posture, as well as open up everywhere, especially because we were so closed up throughout the day, right? So that is 5. And then we got 3 more of these, okay? You guys are doing absolutely phenomenal. Boom. And then boom. And then boom. So that's 8 right there. So really well done, guys. So next thing we're going to do is we're actually going to go ahead and go into extension through T-spine as well. But this time we're going to be using a foam roller. You can pick one up at Walmart or anywhere really, but this will be really handy to be able to go into extension through T-spine. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to go into 3 segments on our T-spine and hold it for about 20 seconds each. And then we'll go ahead and shimmy over with that, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to lay the foam roller on the ground like this. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to place this on our shoulder blades. So once it's on our shoulder blades, what we're going to do is we're going to place our arms behind our head. And I want you to make Sir Isaac Newton proud and let gravity do its work. So we're just going to let our head drop and we're just going to go ahead and relax. Nice and relaxed, go into good extension. Once we find that range, we're going to go ahead and we're going to start that timer for about 20 seconds. Should be feeling pretty darn good. And if you haven't already, hit the like and subscribe button so that you can keep in contact and get all the information on all the new exercises coming along, as well as committing to yourself to keep everything rocking and rolling. And then there you go. Let's go ahead and let's shimmy up. And then nice, good extension. So remember, when we're rolling T-spine, we don't want to roll past the floating ribs. We want to make sure we're staying on the rib cage, but we should be just relaxing, just letting our head drop, going into some good extension. Should be feeling pretty darn good. We just got a couple more seconds on this. And then there you go. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to shimmy it one more time. Again, just make sure you're staying on the rib cage. Don't go past the floating ribs. Nice, good extension to T-spine. We should be feeling phenomenal, especially after sitting at a desk all day. So if this is the first thing that you're kind of cranking out after a long day and you're wanting to start getting up off the couch and start moving, I do have other videos in the channel if you want to go ahead and take a look-see, and then that way you can start living a more active and better life as well. So these are all movements that you can do just in general after you finish work, or maybe before you crank out an exercise at the gym or workout. But again, keep that word of power in the back of your mind. Embrace a positive and balanced lifestyle. And until next time, I'm Carlo Lalonde.